Hello everyone, welcome to this live webinar on GMAT Club YouTube channel. In this webinar, we are gonna talk about how to attain the perfect score on GMAT Quant, which is a Quant 51. And basically, this is gonna be a very interesting webinar where I'm gonna talk about not just basic things, but even a lot more in-depth strategies about how you can actually improve your score in the best optimal fashion. So before I get started, I would like to hear from you guys if you all can hear me loud and clear because it seems that my audio should be good now. So before I get started, I would like to see me 1 second, guys. I guess my because it seems that my audio just should be good now. So before I get started, I would like Okay, I guess we are sorted now. Okay, so I hope all of you are able to hear me. That was my other laptop where I could hear myself. Like this video was playing live on it. So I guess all of you can hear me loud and clear. So that's good. Kartikeya, it have been echoing because of my other laptop, as I said. So that was there. Now it should not be echoing at all. That's my understanding. Please correct me if I'm wrong. In case you still you still feel that it's echoing a bit, do let me know. Okay, I have just started sharing my screen now, so you guys should be able to see it now. Okay, so I only see Kartikeya participating here. What about others? Like, where are you guys from? Just give me a brief about yourself. Just tell me where are you from, what kind of target scores you're looking for, you're aiming for. Just get to know a bit about you guys. That will help me understand if there is any particular direction in which I should, uh, like, let's say, poise my discussion today. So please tell me where are you from, what is your target score, what is your current score, what are the problems that you guys are facing as of now with respect to your quant scores. So it will be great to hear from you. Let's see some responses. Okay, I just see Kartikeya's response. And don't be shy, guys. I want this webinar to be very, very interactive. I generally like it that way because that keeps me pumped up. That makes me go like an extra mile and ensure that I'm able to help you in the best possible fashion. Again, that has been the objective every time I take a webinar. But just getting that live feedback from you guys, just getting to hear from you, the questions from you actually helps in that process a lot. Okay, so I see good responses, some responses now. Vani, hello, welcome to you. Welcome to this webinar. So you are from Delhi and you're looking at a 760 and you're appearing in August. Good luck for that. Mayuk says I'm looking for 750 plus. Current score is 650 and you are at a 43 right now. Okay, so Mayuk, you're in the right place today because I'm going to help you understand why you could be at a 43 and how you can improve it further from here. Okay, so again, I wanted to hear from more of you, but again, anyway, in the interest of time, let's get started. So I'm Piyush and I'm going to be your main host in the webinar today. Some of you might be interacting with me for the very first time. In case you are here for the very first time, let me do a quick intro about myself. I generally do a lot of webinars on GMAT Web YouTube channel. I really like interacting with students. I have about 8 years of experience right now helping students, about slightly more than 8 years, I would say, about 9 years of experience helping students get to their GMAT scores with the help of my strategic understanding of the GMAT. I help people strategize for their prep better. I have myself taken the GMAT in the very first attempt. I scored a 740, Quant 50 and a verbal 41. I have helped students get into all kind of schools that you can think of, including the Whartons, Harvards, NCRs, LBS of the world. So that's slightly about me. I work at GMAT Viz right now, and I love helping with students help with the right study strategy that they should aim for. So that's just a quick overview about me. Now let's look at how the webinar is going to be structured. So there are going to be 3 sections to this webinar. Obviously, the main part is where we are going to spend most of our time, which is about 90 minutes. Before we get into that, quick overview of what we do at GMAT Viz as we are the host of the webinar. I just want you guys to have an idea about what we do at GMAT Viz. Just a couple of minutes on that. Then we get into the main part, spend 90 minutes over there, and maybe 1 hour, like 1.5 hours, or slightly more than that also, depending on how much interaction do we have. And then I'll open it up for an open-ended Q&A where you can ask me any questions which are other than your general quant questions, quantitative questions. Okay, so without any further ado, let's get going to the first part. So who we are. So basically, we are world's only truly personalized GMAT course. Again, the reason I've highlighted the word truly is because we truly believe in the idea of personalization. We have taken it to the next level. In fact, when we designed GMAT Wiz, we spent one entire year developing the technology behind it. The artificial intelligence engine that personalizes the learning, we take it really, really seriously. So you are going to see a very different level of personalization when you come to GMAT Wiz as a student. And we believe that every student is different and hence they should be treated differently. So what we do at GMAT Wiz is we ensure that all of you get a personalized study plan. So we don't believe in the concept of a 1 month study plan, 2 month study plan, or 6 month study plan, which is basically the same for every student who is referring to it. We believe in personalizing the study plan to the T based on your strengths, your weaknesses, your availability, and everything around you. So it's completely centered around you. And we also make sure that you get real-time improvement modules based on how you're learning. So let's say you have completed a topic, you have completed permutation combination, or let's say prime numbers, and you're not performing well in it. You as a student don't have to worry about where are you going wrong. We will help you understand that. We will help you understand it through our complete understanding, or like from our expertise of what your weak areas are and how do you work on weak areas. Okay, and finally, we also give you dedicated mentors in case you take the complete GMAT quant and verbal packages from us, with whom you can connect every 15 days to discuss your progress, to make sure that you're always and always headed in the right direction. So that's a very short overview about what we offer at GMAT Wiz. And because of this, we are very proud to say that we are GMAT Club's most effective course when it comes to average score improvement. And this is data which is based on verified reviews on GMAT Club. Right now, our average score improvement is, in fact, this is May 21's data, but now your average score improvement is around 112 points. We kind of hover in this range itself, 110 points approximately, and you can look at the average score improvement of some of the other course providers. So that kind of differentiates us because primarily of the kind of personalization that we have been able to do in our course. Okay, so that was about GMAT Wiz. So let's get going to the main part of the webinar. So how have I structured the main part? So let's quickly understand that, and then we can get going with that. So the first thing which I want to talk about, again, in order to get to a Quant 51, many people do not start their learning right. So we will first understand what is the right learning curve. How can you improve your learning? How can you take your learning in the right direction from the get-go so that you don't waste any time? And trust me, guys, quant is an area which is neglected many times by students. I have seen students doing this mistake. Again, I'll come to this again when I actually move to the learning curve part. But we will talk about first the right learning curve. And then we will move to one very, very big reason. Again, the title of this webinar says getting to a Quant 51. But even if you want to get to a 49 or a 50 or a 51, any one of these three scores, you cannot tell yourself that I'm not able to achieve this just because I'm making a silly mistake. No, that's not acceptable. You have to understand the core reason why you end up making those silly mistakes. And once you understand that, it is very easy for you to work upon it. So we will help you understand why you end up making those silly mistakes. It's not a mistake, it's an excuse, guys, which we have to overcome. I'll help you understand how you can overcome, and through a lot of questions. It's not that I'm just gonna give you gyan or just typical advice. I'm gonna help you understand those things through a lot of questions that we are gonna solve today. Okay, and we'll also talk about the timing conundrum. A lot of people come to me and say, okay, if only I have, let's say, 5 more minutes on the test, I can actually do wonders. But sadly, you don't have 5 more minutes. You have the exact same time which is available to every other student out there. So we will help you understand how can you resolve the timing conundrum and get sorted for once and all. Okay, and then we will help you understand how to identify gaps in your learning process and how to fix them as well. Okay, and finally, timing strategy for quant. Because again, if you're looking at 50 or 51, timing strategy becomes a very, very critical part. I'm going to spend about 5 minutes there. Okay, so let's get going with the right learning curve. But just one thing, in case any one of you is interested in creating a free personalized study plan on our platform, here's the link in your chat. You can see this link, use this link to create a free personalized study plan. But let's talk about the right learning curve. As I said, quant is a topic which is many times neglected by students. I have seen many of my students who came to me with a poor verbal score, okay, and let's say decent enough quant score. So engineers in India generally do well in quant. Again, a lot of engineers from China, Korea generally end up doing really well in quant. In fact, Koreans happen to have the highest quant score on an average, even better than Indians and Chinese students generally. This is data which is taken by GMAT. So, but in general, if you're an engineer, you sometimes tend to neglect your quant. As I said, I have had students in the past who were struggling with verbal and had a 49 in quant but 30s in verbal. They put a lot of effort on verbal. And the good thing is, when they put in a lot of effort, like they worked the GMAT quiz, they were able to improve their verbal score to a 41. But since they neglected quant, they ended up being at a 48 or a 49 on that test day. What happens in the end? You did put in a lot of effort on your weak area, improved it to a good level, to a 41, but you neglected your, so ended up with a 48 or a 49. What that means is you're still looking at a 720, not a 740. So it has happened multiple times with some of my students who have neglected quant completely just because they felt that they're strong at it. Don't do that mistake. Don't make that mistake. And why am I saying this? I'm saying this because when you neglect quant, you end up not studying it in the right fashion. For most people who think that they are good at quant, all that they do is they'll take a few topics from here and there. They'll just focus on the weak areas, maybe permutation, combination, or a few weak areas from here and there. And they will just solve questions. They'll just do more and more questions on them without thinking what is the right learning curve. And now I'm going to help you understand what is the right learning curve so that you don't end up making that mistake. Because in quant, you should not go in any random order. You should not just pick any random topics because everything in quant is interrelated. Maybe one topic is related to another. I'll show you what I mean by that. So in quant, it is very important that you get hold of first. Okay, you should know all the basic concepts first. Don't worry, I'm gonna just give you a list of all the basic concepts, everything over here. But what I want you to understand is you should not follow the textbook style of doing number properties first, or word problems first, or geometry first. That doesn't work. Complete your basic foundation skills, then move to intermediate topics, and then finally move to advanced topics. So let me cut make it simple for you, cut and slice every single topic and tell you what is the right learning order. What you see on your screen is exactly the right order in which you should study quant. And quant, if you're very good at it, even if you're a best of the best minds, you definitely need to follow this order which is there. Obviously, if you are good at some of the initial topics, you do not need to go in depth in them, but at least move in that order. And why am I saying so? Understand it this way, guys. If let's say you are doing prime numbers, okay, can anyone tell me again, let me actually hide the screen for a moment. Let me go back to the previous screen. And I want to hear from you guys. What, according to you guys, you think that what are the related topics which you need to learn before you come to prime numbers? Guys, comments from you? Again, it has been a monologue from a long time now. I just want to see some comments from you. What do you think are the topics which are related to the prime numbers, let's say, which you need to do before prime numbers? Okay. Hari Krishna, what are the material to be used for Quant 51? Again, Hari Krishna, you can look at GMAT Quiz course. We help you prepare to the entire Quant section, so you can definitely get a Quant 51 using our course. Okay. So I don't see any comment as of now, guys. I want to make sure that it's interactive, as I said. Okay, Anushka says number. Mark says factors, HCF, LCM. Okay, good. Factors, I do agree. America says factors. Number properties is what Pooja says. Atul says number classification, factors, multiples. Absolute value is what Vani says. Vani, again, I'm not sure absolute value is actually required for primes. Again, you might need and understand. Again, I don't even think that for absolute values you need to know prime numbers as a concept. But yeah, factors definitely, yes. So basically, imagine it this way, that if you are actually gonna do primes, okay, if you're gonna do primes, again, very good point, Vani. None of the others told about this. But for primes, you need to have an understanding of how even and odd number works. Okay, you need to have an understanding of even odd numbers. You need to have an understanding of exponents, because when you're doing prime factorization, exponents is what you definitely deal with. So if you don't know the basics of exponents, do well in primes. Linear equations, you should be able to solve linear equations, because in many cases when you are doing prime factorization, there are some equations that you have to form. Similarly, your number classification basics need to be in place. So these are some topics which you definitely need to do before you come to prime numbers. Obviously, when I say factor, some of you are saying factors. So factors is something which, as a concept, at GMAT we teach as a part of primes itself. So again, you don't see it before primes, but it is inside primes is when you learn it. So factors definitely one of the most common things. HCF LCM is rather something which can be learned after learning. In HCF LCM, you have to do prime factorization. So HCF LCM or GCD LCM, whatever you call it, is something which is actually supposed to be done after primes, not before primes. Okay. So what I'm trying to say here is, if you're not following the right order, imagine that you go to LCM GCD or HCF LCM and you have you don't have a very strong understanding of prime factorization, you might struggle with that. So every topic is interdependent on something else in quant. So this is the right learning curve that you should follow, and I have color coded them for you. Okay, so you can see that the green ones are from number properties, the blue ones are from algebra, like maroon ones are from word problems, and the black ones are from geometry. So you can see, if you are just doing number properties first, what all you are missing out on in algebra, which you need to do before you doing some other things in number properties. So don't follow a module by sequence. Very important that you follow this particular sequence which I'm telling you right now. And in every single topic, see, any line item that you see here is a topic. So there are total 33 topics which are tested on GMAT Quant. Okay, we're gonna move to the more advanced strategies also, guys, but this is the first step that we need to get right before we move to the advanced strategies. So every topic has to be learned in 3 stages. Now, one mistake which people do is they will start with learning concepts. They generally do that. That's a good thing. They start by learning all the formulas, all the rules that are tested on GMAT for that particular topic. But one mistake that they end up doing is that they move directly after stage 1 to stage 3, okay, which is practicing questions on the topic. Okay, so again, Shashadri, log is something which is not tested on GMAT. As such, logarithm is not tested on GMAT. Conic sections, if you are saying that's like right circular cones, that can be tested, but logs are definitely not tested on GMAT. So again, more importantly, understand it this way, that after learning concepts, most people jump directly to practicing questions on that particular topic. That's the usual format that I see people doing. Learn concepts, practice tons of questions, solve the OG, solve this question, solve that question. Is that the right approach? I won't say that it's completely wrong, but it's not the most effective one. Because when you are doing this, you're skipping a very important step in between. You are assuming that right after learning concepts, just by practicing questions, you will get to know the right method of learning, how to solve those questions. And GMAT is a very typical test, trust me. GMAT is not a test which will ask you to do tons of calculations, or they will not basically go into very complex questions, but they will actually test your understanding of logic or inferential skills in depth. So if you do not learn the right method to solve a question, even after you do tons of questions, you'll probably end up either scoring less or taking a lot of time. So in the end, if you're not doing this right, you will end up repeating the same mistakes in the questions that you're solving without realizing where is that you're going wrong. And what that means is you may not end up with your target score. You might get stuck in this range, or you might take eternity to reach there. So it is possible that you could have actually gotten to a quant 50 by solving half the number of questions that you actually had to solve to get there. What that means is you could have reached there twice as fast, but you did not reach it just because you missed a very important step in between, which is to master a methodical approach. And if you do that right, you will end up getting that 700 plus. And in fact, I speak to about 7 to 8 students on a daily basis nowadays. and most students to be are mid 40s in quant at least. So common problem that they face is timing. The one common problem that they face is sometimes they end up taking too long to solve a question. And when I ask them, okay, what is the method that you're using? When we solve a few questions together, I get to see that there is no proper methodology that they are following. Sometimes that it is number plugging, sometimes it is some random method. They don't think enough before getting invested into a question. So very important, guys. Please make a note of it if you want to right now, that whenever you learn a concept, prepared to learn the best methods to solve those questions along with those concepts right away. That's something which you have to do. So let's get to that part. Let's get to understand why do you end up making those silly mistakes. And this has a lot to do with the thing that I was talking about, that if you do not learn the right strategies, if you do not learn the right methods, you will end up struggling on the topic. Okay, so there's no better way to actually understanding this rather than actually solving the question. So what I want you guys to do now is solve this question. I'm gonna give you about a couple of minutes to solve this question, and then we are gonna solve this together. And please do not write down your answers on the screen over here. I don't want you guys to write down your answers in the chat. Only share your answers when I ask you to do that. Okay, I will tell you, I will give you a prompt that now is the time you can post your responses. So then you can go ahead and post it, but please do not do that unless I ask you to. Okay, so for the next 2 minutes, I'm gonna be muted. You guys can solve this question and then we will solve it together. All the best, guys. All right, guys. So we have spent a couple of minutes on this already. So now you guys can go ahead and start sharing your responses in the chat here. So what do you think is the right answer to this question? So I hope most of you have solved it by now. So if you have done so, please tell me what do you think is the right answer. Your responses, guys. Let's see who has got this right. And again, more important than getting this right is to ensure that you have actually learned how to solve it correctly. Okay, so I see some responses. Mayuk says it is 6, which is option E. A lot of you are going for option E. Anushka says option E with a question mark. Some of you are going for C, but most of you seem to be going for E. Seshadri says it should be choice B. Okay, so seems like 6 is the most popular choice. But no worries, as I said, I am more interested in making sure that you guys have understood the question right and solved it in the right possible fashion. So let's get going with that. So I'm going to maximize the screen size so that you guys can focus on the solution now. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to solve this question exactly how I would solve it if I were doing it for the very first time. Okay. And I want you to make sure that you are looking at the step-by-step method in depth. Okay. Don't take any small, even any small thing that I'm doing. You have to take it like very seriously. See, why am I doing it? Question yourself, do you do the same thing when you solve the question? Okay, so let's start doing the question. Okay, so let's read the question first. X is a positive integer. Okay, so now I have this habit that, okay, whenever I see there's the information provided in the question stem which puts a certain constraint or a certain limitation to a variable or a number, I make sure that I write it down in a box. Okay, for example, in this case, I know that x is a positive integer and x is not equal to 5. So I can say, okay, when I say x is a positive integer, I definitely know that it is not equal to 0. It can be 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. But I know that x is not equal to 5. So this is an information which is provided to me in the question stem. Now, any reason why you think I am putting this in a box? Any reason that you guys can tell me or think of? Why am I putting it in a box? This is a trivial information. This is given in the question stem. Why am I doing this? Any ideas, guys? Any guesses? Anyone who want to take a guess on this? Just want to make sure that we are actually able to understand the logic behind every small thing that I'm doing as well, because these are very important lessons from this question. In fact, this is probably going to be the most important lesson. Okay, Vani says eliminate options. Nice point, Vani. I like your thought, but I'm asking what could be my reason of doing this. Okay, Rohan says when we substitute values. I did not get that, Rohan. Do you mean to say that after finding the values, we are substituting it? Okay, Shadri says we want to remember it. Good point. Very close, Shadri, to my right reason of doing it. Anushka's case, plugging in the values. Anushka, not really a big fan of that, especially in a question like this where I can actually solve it in a methodical fashion very, very quickly. Trust me, guys, if you know the right method, which I'm going to show you now, you can actually solve this question within 30 seconds. Okay, Zardo says, so you don't confuse with real numbers. Nice points. I'm seeing really, really interesting observations. Rahul says, so you don't miss what the question is asking. Very good point. We want to work in the boundaries is what Priyan says. Great points, guys. Thank you so much for it. I'll tell you my reason, guys. I have made tons of mistakes in my life by not focusing on the information given in the question. In fact, those of you who marked choice E, very high chance that you did not take care of the constraints provided. Again, very high chance. I'm not saying necessarily true, but it is possible that you considered 0 and 5 as well. Again, denominator cannot be 0, Atul, I know that, but I am saying why am I writing it in a box? The reason I am writing it in a box is because I have forgotten such information many times. See, what happens is when you're solving a question, you get so engrossed, so involved in solving the question that you sometimes end up forgetting this important small things. You said solve the question, you see there are 6 values of x which are possible. You will just go ahead, mark the answer as choice E because you know time is running out. And you have put in so much hard work and effort to solve the question and you get it wrong just because you did not Remember that piece of information. So I've done this mistake many times as a student myself. Now, see, doing a mistake is not that bad. All of us do make mistakes. We are human beings. We are supposed to make mistakes. But what is important is learn from them. So this is an important habit that I have developed. Number one, I will always read the question slowly, infer the right information from the question stem. And you will see that happening throughout this session, guys. Let me tell you. Second thing, if I come across important constraints which put limits to a certain type of variables, I will always note them down, highlight on my paper, on the calculation sheet which I'm using. In fact, I even go to the third stage, which I'm going to show you today. Before just marking the answer, I quickly refer to such boxes and make sure that I'm not making a silly mistake. Okay, so happy to know, Parikshit and Mayuk, that this is something which kind of happens out of habit, but we have to avoid that. We have to make good habits as well. So this is a good habit which I have developed. Okay, a lot of lecture on this, a lot of gyan, but I'm hoping that all of this is making sense to you, because I want you guys to take out important lessons, not just solve the few questions that we're solving today. Okay, so I wrote this down. I know that there are certain conditions or limitations to the values that x can take. Let's move forward. So if a complex expression is there, is less than equal to 0, then how many values are possible for x? So I'm supposed to solve for the values of x. Okay, I'm supposed to solve for the values of x. Now I have this expression to read with. Now this expression is basically looking like a complex expression, but I would try to simplify it first. So what I see in the numerator of this expression is that I can take something like a x cubed common. Okay, and then I can write this expression as x squared minus 9x plus 14 divided by x minus 5. Okay, so I'm trying to basically make my life easy by simplifying this. Now, whenever you have a quadratic inequality like this, the method to solve it is very simple. You have to, as part of step one, again, I'm just telling this to you guys out loud, as part of step one, factorize the expression as much as possible. Factorize the expression. That's step one. Step two is basically plot 0 points. Okay, plot 0 points on a number line. Okay, and the last step is basically to ensure that you find the favorable region. So these are 3 steps, and trust me guys, you apply these 3 steps on any given question dealing with quadratic inequalities. You will always get to the right answer in the most effective fashion. I can bet you I can solve this question in 30 seconds. I can solve any question like this in 30 seconds. Just these 3 steps I have to remember. First step, factorize. In order to factorize, I have to simplify. So I've simplified it, taken x cube out, then I have an expression on the numerator which says x squared minus 9x plus 14. So I'll try and factorize that as well. So this part, this is a factor, this is a factor, this is a factor. I have to just factorize this portion. Okay, so let me try doing that. Again, ideally, I would explain it in much more depth, but as this session is more about strategy, I'm not going into the very depth of it. But if you want and try to factorize it, you guys will understand that this expression can be factorized as this. Okay, so the two roots is 7 and 2. Okay, the sum of 7 and 2 is 9, and the product of 7 and 2 is 14. Okay, so which is what you basically see in the given expression. So you can write, if you want to simplify this, you can write 9x as minus 7x and minus 2x, and then you can take common. So I'm skipping those steps because I have done it multiple times and I'm better at it. So, but I would recommend, if you're not very good at it, you should not skip those steps. You should definitely simplify it first properly and then move ahead. Okay, so now I have completed my step one. I have completed the factorization. The second thing that I have to do is now plot the 0 points. Now, what do I mean by 0 points? 0 points basically means the values at which each of these factors that you see in the expression become equal to 0. Okay, so if you look at the first factor, which is x cube, okay, again, remember x cube can also be written as x squared multiplied by x if you want to do that. And the reason I do this is because x square is always positive. So the value of x is not gonna, like the value of x square is not gonna impact the sign of this expression. So I can ignore x square if I want to, but just focus on x and kind of understand at which point, at which value is this factor x gonna be zero. The factor x is gonna be zero when x is equal to zero. Similarly, ask yourself that at which value the factor x minus 7 is going to be equal to 0. When will x minus 7 be equal to 0? X minus 7 will be equal to 0 when x is equal to 7. Right? I hope this is clear to all of you guys. Similarly, ask yourself, when is the factor x minus 2 going to be 0? The factor x minus 2 is going to be 0 when the value of x is equal to 2. Okay? I hope all of you are clear till this point. Any questions, any doubts, please feel free to type in the comments. I'll be more than happy to take them up. Similarly, the last factor remaining is x minus 5. So I will ask myself, when is that x minus 5 is going to be equal to 0? Okay, and then let me expand this number line a little, because again, I have a lot of scope on the left. So when is x minus 5 going to be 0? X minus 5 is going to be 0 when x is equal to 5. Okay, so these are the 0 points which I have to plot. So I have plotted the 0 points. The second step is done. What about the third step? The third step is simple. I have to find the favorable region. Now, always remember, when you have plotted the 0 points, you can actually be very confident that the value of the expression for any value of x, again, these are values of x, by the way, for any value of x which is greater than 7, the value of the expression is going to be positive. That's the benefit of plotting 0 points. At the 0 points, the value of the expression is 0, but on the rightmost extreme, the value of the expression is positive, and then it alternates between positive and negative from right to left. And let me write this like that. Okay, I'm just writing it like this over here. So it alternates between positive and negative. It always happens. Again, if I had time to explain it, I could have explained why this happens. But if you put logic into it, you try to put values from each region, you'll understand why this happens. Again, all of this is logical. You don't have to memorize any of this. Trust me. Okay. But once you plot 0 points, you know that the expression is going to be positive on the rightmost point, and then it's going to alternate the sign. Okay. So I have done that. Now I have to just pick my favorable region. Now, what is my favorable region? Look at this expression. It says less than equal to 0. So I'm looking at values of x at which the expression is either negative or it is equal to 0. So when is it negative? It is negative in this range. It is negative in this range. So these are the two places where the value of x is negative. So I have plotted my favorable region, and that's all you need to do. The question is solved. So you know, you just have to pick the values of x now. So what are the values that x can take? Let's look at this region. In this region, I have the values as 0, 1, and 2. And I'm taking the 0 points also because this inequality says that it can be also equal to 0. If it was less than 0, I would not have taken 0 and 2, the extreme points. But since it is less than equal to, I'm going to take 0, 1, and 2 as well. Okay. And Ranendra, I'm not ignoring 0 right now. I'm just writing down everything. And I'll ignore all the constraints or the limitations which are there later on. And that's the process which I follow. So 0, 1, 2. And similarly over here, I will take 5, 6, and 7. Okay. So now those of you who stopped at this, who did only this much, would have marked the answer as choice E. But that is incorrect. Most of you, in fact, when I asked this question, most of you actually marked the choice answer as choice E, because you probably fell for this trap. But since I have highlighted this in big text, the third habit which I was talking about was, before I mark the question, like the right answer, I'm going to look at the constraints. So the constraint over here is x cannot be equal to 5. So I will just cross 5. And I know that x cannot be equal to 0 either because it's a positive integer. So the only possible values which I have with me is 1, 2, 6, and 7. And that's why choice C indeed is the correct answer over here. Okay. So those of you who mark choice C as the correct answer, great job, guys. You did a very, very good job by doing this. Those of you who marked D as the correct answer, who said, okay, 5 is the right answer, you probably did not focus on X is a positive integer, so you probably considered 0 as well, or you did not read the question properly, or you did not understand the right terminology of positive integer. Okay, so yes, Rohan, at X equal to 5, the equation, not the equation, the expression is undefined, not 0. That's true. Okay, but again, remember, I'm just saying from the perspective of 0 points, you can do this. You're right that at X equal to 5, it will become undefined. So whenever there is a numerator, denominator, again, I did, as I said, I'm not going into the depth of the concepts here, but any factor which is in the denominator, when you're equating that to 0, just make sure that you're not taking that 0 point as part of your final answer, but you still have to mark it on the number line. You cannot ignore that. So please mark it on the number line for sure, but do not include that as a part of your answer, even if it is say it is equal to 0. Okay, so I understand your point, Rohan, very well said. But in most of the questions, you will actually find GMAT itself stating that X is not equal to 5. If something is becoming undefined, GMAT itself will state that. That's a very high standardization level that GMAT kind of maintains. Okay, so I hope this question helped you guys get some perspective into it. So what I wanted to bring about was that when you kind of end up making silly mistakes, sometimes you tell ourselves that we are making a silly mistakes. In many cases, it is not a silly mistake. It is rather our reading through the questions too fast, not reading the question properly, just because we want to save time. And never ever ever fall into the habit of doing over optimization. Over optimization is a very bad thing, guys. So missing constraints, very wrong thing. When you do not read the question properly, one mistake that you do is you miss constraints, and that's what we saw, because of which many of you got this question wrong. A simple straightforward question, all of you put in the right effort, you knew how to solve it, probably you put in the right effort, still you got the question wrong just because you probably missed the constraints. Another mistake which people do is they assume things which are not provided in the question, and that's a common reason why you may not end up getting a quant 51 even after being a quant pro. So let's solve a question, one more question on this. So I want to help you understand how you can avoid this. So this is another question. This is going to be a DS question now. I'm going to do it in full screen so all of you can see this yourself. And I'm going to mute myself as well. You have a couple of minutes maximum to solve this. And like last time, I don't want you to answer put your responses in the comments. Keep it with you. When I ask you to do it, please do it then so that others can do it unbiasedly. Okay? So all the best, guys. 2 minutes is what you have. Macha, don't put the answer, please. As I said, let other people also solve the question first and then put the answers. I'll ask all of you to put the answers. Ankit, same thing for you. Don't please place your answers now. Okay, guys, so we have spent enough time on this question. So you guys can go ahead and share your answers in the chat now, in the comments now. So, what do you think is the right answer to this question? Let's see some responses from you. Okay, so I have a lot of people. I see some responses coming in. Shishadri says it's A. Like the last question, this one also, it seems like E is the popular choice here. I have Macha, Rushil, Khushbu, Vipul all saying it's E. Mayuk and Pooja says it's gonna be A. Shushant, Priyansh say it's E. Chandan says it's A. Kartike Mishra says it's A. Okay, Mithila says it's C. So different option. Mithila says C. Sehat says it's A, and most of you are going for E, and I'm happy to see that. Like E is indeed the correct answer. I generally don't jump to the correct answer so soon. E indeed is the correct answer, and I'm really happy that at least probably some of you got a little too serious about not assuming things. Like that is something which I have highlighted on the screen just to ensure that you are not making this mistake. This is a very important lesson, guys. And those of you who don't get it right, did not get it right, I'm going to help you understand where you might have made a mistake. But more important thing is understanding how to solve this question. So let's get started with this one. So let's read the question first. How many people in town X read in neither the world newspaper nor the Globe newspaper? Difficulty level, Rushil, this will be a 650 level question. Okay, just because people end up assuming things. Otherwise, it's a very straightforward question. But I would say 650 level just because people end up assuming things. So in a DS question, first thing, in any quant question, in fact, never assume stuff. And in DS specifically, first draw the right inferences. Like first understand the question stem properly. So let's read. How many people in town X read neither the world newspaper or the Globe newspaper? So what I'm saying is, what I've been asked is, how many people do not read world and do not read Globe? Do I know how many newspapers are there in the town? Probably not. I just know there are at least these two newspapers in the town which are circulated, World and Globe. And the question asks me how many people do not read both these newspapers. Okay, that's what the question is asking me. So I don't have any other information in the question stem, so I can actually move to statement one. Let's go to statement one. What does statement one tell me? Statement one tells me that of the 2500 people in town X. Okay, so I know, again, I generally use Venn diagrams. If you don't use Venn diagrams, that's also fine. If you like using tables, that also will work over here. Not necessary to use Venn diagrams. There are 2500 people in the town. Okay, and out of this, 1000 people do not read any newspaper. Let's say if there are multiple newspapers, there are more newspapers like this. I know that 1000 people do not read any newspaper. Okay, now those of you who marked choice A as the answer, who marked choice A, there were some people who are saying A is the correct answer. Those of you who marked choice A as the answer probably assumed that there are only two newspapers in the town X. And if there are only two newspapers, then probably 1000 is the right answer. But do I know that there are two newspapers only? That World and Globe are the only two newspapers? I don't know that. So if I don't know that, I cannot assume it. That is the most important thing you need to understand. If that is not given to you, you should not assume that at all. Okay, so 1000 people do not read any newspaper, but do I'm talking about people who do not read World and who do not read Globe. There could be some people who could be reading some other newspaper. So 1000 is not the right answer. I don't know that. So this is not going to be sufficient. Statement one is not going to be sufficient for me. Let's look at statement two. What does statement two tell me? Tells me that of the people in town X, so if I have to draw the diagram again, of the people in town X, 700 read Globe only and 600 read World only. So if this is Globe and this is World, I know that 700 people read Globe only and 600 people read World only. Okay, but this also does not provide me any information about either the total number of people or the number of people lying here. Okay, I don't have any information about these two pieces. So if I don't have any information about this, I cannot find the value lying over here outside of these two sets, because when I'm looking at not World and Globe, I'm looking at the region which is outside these two sets. overall. Okay, I have no information about that. I cannot answer this question from statement 2 alone. The only option now available with me is to combine the information given in both the statements. So let me combine the information given in both the statements. Now, what I know for sure, there are 2,500 people over here. So it gives me information about this group. It also gives me information that there are 1,000 people who do not read any newspaper. But it does not tell me like there could be one more newspaper which is there. Let's say there is another newspaper which is, let's say, the Times, let's say the Economics Times or the Times, whatever. Okay, and there are some people who are reading it. Let's say X number of people who are reading it. Again, I don't know if that exists or not. So that information is still not provided. So I cannot answer the question based on this information over here. And that is why option E is the correct answer in this case. Okay, I hope this is clear to all of you guys why option E is correct. And the most important lesson that we needed to generate from this is read the question stem carefully. Do not assume things while reading. In fact, trust me guys, this is based on an official question. This is a question based on an official question. And for this question, the number of people going for option A was 31%. 31%. Not a small number, guys, by any means. Now, why do people end up making such mistakes? One reason, they rush through the question stem. They end up assuming things which are not provided. Don't do that. Again, I could have taken a 700 level question to bring across this point also. I do have a very good 700 level question where people do end up making a certain assumption all the time. But I took a easier question where the assumption was not that, let's say, forced. In that 700 level question, you will mostly end up making that assumption if you don't think very closely. Over here, you don't even need to think that closely. If you're not just assuming things out of the blue, you will not end up making this mistake. So what I'm trying to say here is if you're looking at a Q51, you cannot take questions lightly. You have to read questions, not assume anything which is not provided to you. Is my point clear to all of you guys here? Is my point clear to all of you? I hope it is. Quick yes, no, guys. Quick yes, no. Is this learning helpful? Is the point clear? Quick yes, no to that in the chat. Let's see some responses. I hope you guys are taking up important learnings from the class today. Okay, Rashid says yes, Prabjot says yes. I see a good number of yeses. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much. That keeps me motivated to giving you more and more important lessons. So what are the most common mistakes which I see people making? And again, this is based on purely my understanding of speaking with so many students on a regular basis. One very common mistake, not reading the question stem properly. Okay. So very important that you don't make that mistake. And Vipul, we have a lot of questions. Don't worry, we will be doing a lot of questions. And the objective here is not to solve a question, but learn these important lessons over here. So not reading questions properly is one mistake which people do. Second mistake, and which is something which I'm going to definitely talk about now, is not drawing the right inferences. Anyone and everyone who struggles with data sufficiency generally ends up making this mistake many times. Many times they end up making this mistake. Okay. In fact, if you guys can actually give me a minute, actually, I'll just change the question. I wanted to do. Okay, let's still do this question, and then maybe if time permits, I'll probably end up that I'll actually add that question that I was talking about, Vipul. I was not thinking of doing it today, but I might add that question if time permits today. Okay, so let's move to the next question. And actually learn something from this as well. Again, this is again a DS question. I'm not giving you the option choices. Standard option choices you can keep in mind. You most likely know what are the standard option choices in DS. Let's keep those standard option choices itself. And again, 2 minutes to solve this question. I'm not gonna speak in this 2 minutes. And please keep the answers to yourself. Only put the answers up when I ask you to do that. So all the best for solving this question. And I'll be back in 2 minutes. And start speaking again, but please don't put the answers in the chat. Again, a simple request, humble request, so that everyone can do it unbiasedly. Okay, all the best, guys. Arthur, again, I requested not to put the responses even if you solve the question. So please don't type your answers. I'll ask you when is the right time to answer the question. Okay. Thank you. All right, guys. So now you can go ahead and answer the question. I guess I have given you enough time to solve this. So please go ahead and answer this question now. Okay, I do see a lot of responses. Let me quickly read through them as well. So I see a good number of you going for B. Aditya, Sahaj, Dhruv, Priyan, Sushant, Pooja, Rahul, Vipul, all of you are going for B. Great. Khushbu says it's A. Harshal says it's C. Rohan also says it's C. Okay. Okay. So seems like B is the more popular choice and followed by C. Again, really happy to see the responses from you guys. It really makes my day. But just to give you guys an idea, again, similar question, official question on GMAT. This is the stats from GMAT Club, guys, and this is not a simple question. This, in fact, ends up becoming a 700 level question. You may not believe it, but choice C is more popular than choice B. Most people end up saying that choice B is 41% people say choice B is the right answer, which is statement 2 alone is sufficient. But most people think that they require both pieces of information. B is indeed the right answer, but it is not easy. This is not easy. Most people end up making this mistake simply because the reason why people make this mistake is because they do not end up analyzing the information in the question stem, and they jump too soon to the option choices, the statements rather. And if you jump too soon to the statements and you do not draw the right inferences from the question stem, you might end up requiring more data. And the entire objective of a data sufficiency question is to ensure that how can you work with as little information as provided to you and still get the right answer. That's the entire objective of data sufficiency questions. So if you really want to excel in data sufficiency questions, you have to move over this habit of looking for more and more information, more and more data to answer the question. You should try to answer the question with as less information as possible. And one way to do that is making sure that you are drawing the right inferences from the question stem. So let's look at the question. Let's understand. Let's do the pre-analysis first. So let me solve this question as I would solve it if I'm doing it for the very first time. So at a certain clothing store, customers who buy 2 shirts pay the regular price for the first shirt. Okay, so I know that if customers are buying 2 shirts, let's call it say shirt 1 and shirt 2, they pay the regular price for, okay, so let me call it regular price as for shirt 1 as M1. They pay the regular price for shirt 1 and the discounted price for shirt 2. Okay, so that's what they do, discounted price for shirt 2. So let's call M2 here. The store makes the same profit. So when I'm talking about profit, obviously there's something called the cost price, which is also getting involved here. So let's say cost price is C1 over here and C2 over here. The store makes the same profit from the sale of 2 shirts that it makes from the sale of 1 shirt at the regular price. So the profit from the sale of 1 shirt at the regular price is M1 minus C1. This is same as the profit made by selling 2 shirts. Now, profit made by selling 2 shirts. First shirt is sold at the regular price. If someone is buying, first shirt is sold at regular price. The second shirt is sold at a discounted price. I don't know what is the discounted price. So let's call it X over here. Okay. So this is the equation that I can make. And trust me, guys, when I solved this question for the first time, I did not have to make this expression at all. In fact, I don't need to make this equation. I could solve this question in 30 seconds. That's all I needed to solve it. Logically, if you ask me. But again, I'm going to the logical method later on. First, let's understand the mathematical approach so that all of you are able to understand how to solve this question. But this is a simple equation that I can make out of this. Now, if I make this equation, you can see that we can cancel m1 minus c1 from both sides, right? It's very easy to cancel that. So in simple terms, this question is asking us, this expression is telling us that the discounted price is nothing but the cost price of the second shirt. Okay. Now let's look at what the question is asking me. The question is asking me, for a customer who buys 2 shirts, what is the discounted price of the second shirt? So the question is asking me for the value of X. In simple terms, the value of X is equal to C2. Okay, that's what I can infer from the question stem. Okay, mathematically, I guess all of you are clear with this. Logically also, if you want to understand, and if you don't want to write this expression, think of it this way. The store makes the same profit from the sale of 2 shirts that it makes from the sale of the first shirt. So basically, after the first shirt is sold, in simple terms, what the question is telling me is that the store is not making any profit from the sale of the second shirt. So there's so much of information which is provided, and what it wants to communicate is simple. They just want to communicate that the store is selling the second shirt at the cost price. So I can actually simplify the question stem in simple terms. If you buy 1 shirt, you pay the regular price. If you buy the second shirt, you pay the cost price. That's all. GMAT, however, did not want you to information straight away. They want you to work hard on getting this information. And if you don't work hard, if you don't do analysis on this question, there is no way you can get this information. If you just jump to statement 1 and statement 2, you will make this mistake. You will think, okay, statement 1 tells me the regular price. So in order to identify the discounted price, you will think that you need to know the regular price and you need to know the cost price also. You will think that you need this and you need this. If you do not do the analysis of the question stem, again, I'm repeating this as a fact, guys. If you do not do the pre-analysis of the question, you will think that you need both regular price and cost price to solve the question. And what most people will do is they will go to the statement 1, they will see, okay, I know the regular price from this. They will go to statement 2, okay, I know the cost price from this. So if I know both of them, I can definitely answer the question and you will mark C as the answer. So to those of you who mark C as the answer, most likely you made this mistake, that you did not simplify the question stem. And I'm again repeating this, make it a habit, guys. If DS is what you are struggling with, first and foremost thing that you need to do is always simplify the question stem before moving forward. If you do not draw the right inferences from the question stem, you are going to make a mistake out of it. And see how easy it becomes now. The moment you know that you're looking for the discounted price of the second shirt, which is basically the cost price of the second shirt, you look at the first statement, you say, okay, it tells me just the regular price. It does not tell me the cost price, so it's not going to help. You look at the second statement, it tells you on your face the cost of each of the shirts is $12. And you know, okay, this is what I was looking for. It is $12. I have my answer, and B indeed is going to be the right answer. Easy peasy. You can solve this question in 30 seconds. See the power of actually drawing the right inferences. So this is what I was talking about. Please make sure that you draw the right inferences. And this simplification skill is a very, very important skill. And if you do not work on simplification, you actually get a lot of questions wrong. Now, simplification is just one of the skills which are tested on GMAT. There are multiple other skills which are tested. So it is important that you work on your skill gaps. You identify not just your concept gaps, okay? You should identify the application gaps also. What are the skills that you are missing? What are the common pain points, what are the skill gaps that you have. And in order to identify this, there are two ways to do this. If you are a GMAT student, it is very easy for you. You can actually get this from the GMAT dashboard. So the first step of working on your skill gaps is identification of the gaps, understanding where you are going wrong. So if you're a GMAT student, this is going to be on your dashboard. If you're not a GMAT student, maintain an error log. Maintain an error log to identify why are you getting the questions wrong that you're getting wrong. Okay, very important for you to do that. Okay, second thing after that is, once you have understood it, create customized quizzes. Take 10 to 15 questions per quiz of relevant difficulty level, which tests this particular skill of yours. Okay, and accordingly review all the solutions, identify better methods, look at the methodologies, look at the step-by-step guidance, see whether you actually approached it the right way or not. The moment you do it, you will be able to improve your skill gaps. And trust me, if you are in the mid 40s and you're looking at a 50 or 51 on GMAT Quant, this is what you need to do. This is the skill gap that you need to work on. Okay, and this process is an iterative process. It does not stop. If you have more skill gaps, you have to repeat this process multiple times. Getting my point? So if you are a GMAT student, as I said, the skill gaps are given to you on your platter. You just have to go to your dashboard on the quant section. You can actually see your skills on the right. It shows you that whether you are simplifying the question stem or not. Are you considering cases? In fact, in data sufficiency, in many cases, people who struggle either struggle because of simplification or considering cases. If they are weak at one of these skills, they end up doing poorly, and even utilizing constraint. So if you're not utilizing the right constraints, and this is all actually populated by our AI. So our AI goes to the backend, identifies which options you are marking, sees what are the possible reasons why you could have marked those options. Again, this data is fed in the system when we create a question. So if you are not utilizing the constraint and you miss a choice, okay, just like today, when I actually told you that, okay, you would have marked this answer because you missed the constraint, this is something which we feed in the system instead. And then the AI pulls all this data and presents you in your dashboard, telling you that, yeah, you have to get more conscious about this particular activity. You have to get more conscious about this skill. And as you can see, the student who is not utilizing considering cases properly is also having a poor DS score. So this is something which you can actually see from your dashboard itself. So please make sure that you identify your skill gaps and work on them. Okay. Now, one more mistake which a lot of people end up doing. As I said, 3 mistakes we talked about. Number 1, not reading the question stem properly, where you end up missing constraints, you end up assuming things. That's first is error. You should read the question stem properly. Second mistake, not doing proper analysis in data sufficiency. That's another mistake which people do regularly. That's why they end up losing marks. Third mistake which people do, very common mistake. If I ask, most of you will say, I do calculation errors. What kind of errors? Simple calculations. 2 multiplied by 3 is 5. Okay, or selecting the wrong answer. You had to mark the value of x plus y. You solved for y. You found the value in the questions options basically, and you mark it instead of x plus y. You did not read the question properly. Like you selected the wrong answer rather in a hurry. Or conceptual errors. Okay, for example, a to the power x plus a to the power y is equal to a to the power x plus y. So these calculation errors are what people make, and there are many more of these. Okay, these are the easiest to overcome. And trust me, guys, if you just spend 10 extra seconds, and you don't have to spend 10 extra seconds on every single step, you just have to be cautious. What I mean by being cautious is not being not by spending extra time. What I mean by being cautious is not speeding up too much, not, let's say, taking things for granted, not taking small steps for granted. And trust me, guys, I've made this particular mistake many times. In fact, another mistake which I used to make a lot of times was taking x from left hand side of the equation to the right hand side and keeping it as x itself. That is the kind of mistake I've done multiple times. And if you have made such mistakes, trust me, guys, if you end up making that once, even if you go back to the question again, you try to identify where exactly I made a mistake in the question, you'll most likely not be able to pick it up. If you have calculated 2 multiplied by 3 as 5, even if you review it again, you'll probably still see 2 multiplied by 3 as 5 only. So the only way to avoid this mistake is to avoid it from happening altogether. So please be aware of such mistakes. If you are doing these mistakes, don't make these mistakes in the first place itself. Okay? So Vipul, we are going to solve a 700 level question, that particular question that I was talking about now. But before that, a small announcement. Again, at GMAT Quiz, we have always been a one step ahead, and we always want to help students as much as possible. And in order to do that, we launched Viz Mocks, where we launched a total of 5 mocks of our own, basically, where we did a high level analysis of your entire mocks, as in not just give you data. We actually derived insights from the data to help you understand how you can improve your score now. What is the next step that you can take? I'll talk a little about the mocks, but we have actually now taken it to the next level. We are now launching Viz 2.0, where they're coming up with a lot of new things, I'm going to just show you a glimpse of it. And there's a complete launch event that we have planned around it. So if you guys are really interested in taking your learning and lessons to the next level, you can actually attend this launch event and see the future of learning for GMAT online. Okay, we are using artificial intelligence to the next level in this new launch, which is going to happen. There's a launch event which is planned on 1st of July. You guys can register for this event if you want. And what we are doing is we are basically coming up with a personalization which is integrated with the course. So just to show you what we did in the Viz mocks is the next level that you can see. Basically, in mocks, when I speak to students, what I hear from them is that, how do I know where I'm going right? How do I know where I'm going wrong? And how do I take my learning to the next level? I don't know how to analyze the mocks. I don't know how to create a plan of action based on what am I performing. And in GMAT Viz, when you do the mock test, automatically at the end of the mock itself, the AI will automatically analyze the performance. You can see on the bottom of your screen, it is analyzing the performance and finalizing your recommendation. So you don't have to analyze it yourself. It tells you pinpoint that this is the improvement which is predicted. This is the improvement that you can have in your score. This is the right quant and verbal score that you can target. And how can you get to this? What is the next step of action for you? Practice these questions from Quizart, revise these concepts, and then do these quizzes. And it clearly tells you which questions to practice from our quizzing platform, which quizzes to create, which concepts you need to solidify, where you weak conceptually. All of this information is provided to you in a very organized fashion. In fact, in this launch event, we are going to launch the next level of our AI, which will not just tell you that you have to do this, it will even create a real-time improvement module right then and there. So you just have to click on a button which says, okay, revise, and it automatically gives you what you need to revise. So basically, imagine that once your mock is done, you don't have to worry about mock analysis anymore. You don't have to go through tons of data. You just have to do a small improvement module to take your learning to the next level. That's what we are going to actually launch. So again, this was just a quick glimpse of it. If you want to attend the launch event, you can attend the launch event to know more about it. It's going to happen on 1st of July, guys. Okay, so that was quickly about the announcement that I wanted to make. This is the link that you can use, and this is the next question, guys, for you. All the best for this question. This is a very good question, and I'm going to give you exactly maybe 2 minutes. Yes, 2 minutes for solving this question, and then we will go ahead and discuss this together. And please don't put your responses, as I said, in the poll over here or the comments over here. I'm going to ask you when you should be putting your responses. Okay, so all the best for this question, guys. I'm going to be muted for 2 minutes. So I guess 2 minutes are already over. So if you want to put your responses now, this is the right time to do so. So tell me, what do you think is the correct answer in this case? So let's see some responses from you. And in the meantime, you guys respond. In case any one of you is interested to connect with me or a consultation call to just get advice on your GMAT strategy, you can always connect with me using this link. I'm just going to share this link in the chat here. So it's there. There's the link. You guys can use this to schedule a discussion with me later on after this webinar. Okay, so let's see some responses. Aditya says it's B. Rushil says it's A. Priyansh says it's B. Nikhil says it's B. Most of you are going for B. I see one person going for A, which is Rushil. Nilesh is saying C. Macha is also saying C. Another person for A. And Vipul is saying E. Vipul is the only one who's saying E. All others seem to be going for choice B as the answer. Okay, great, guys. So happy to see your responses. Yeah, Priyansh, this link is to schedule a call with me. This would be taken up by me personally. Yeah, so you can use this link to schedule a call in case you're interested in understanding how you can take your prep to the next level, or if you want to understand how GMAT can help you achieve your target scores. In fact, we have helped many people achieve their target scores in the recent past. So yeah, so let's look at the question again. B seems to be the most popular choice over here. But let's see what is given in the question, and let's go about solving this question. And as I said, guys, this is a 700 level question. Seems like a very easy, simple question, but it is a 700 level question just because of one simple reason. I'll tell you why. So first thing, the question tells me, is x plus y an even number? That's what the question is asking us. There's no information which is provided. There is no information which is provided about x and y. Now, the moment we see is x plus y an even number, we start thinking that we need to know whether x and y are even or odd. That's what we need to know, right? That's what we need to know to solve the question. But the one mistake which a lot of people do, and let me be very clear, a lot of people do, is they do not ask this question. And that's what makes this question tricky. Let me ask you guys, do we know that x and y are integers? Is that provided to us in this question or not? Do we know that x and y are integers? Let me see your responses here. Do we know that x and y are integers? Let's see your responses. What do you think, guys? Do we know that x and y are integers here? Is that known to us, not known to us? What do you think? Okay. Yes, we don't know it, right? So all of you are saying, no, we don't know it, right? So we don't know it. Next thing, next question. Again, probably not going to ask it, more of a rhetorical question. Is it possible to get an even or odd number by adding two decimal numbers? Is it possible to get that? It is, right? It is possible to get an even or odd number by adding two decimals. I can add 1.2 with 0.8. I can add this 1.2 with 0.8, and I can get the answer is 2, which is even. Okay, but 1.2 and 0.8 are not even or odd, because even or odd is a definition which is applicable for integers, not for decimals. You cannot classify decimals as even or odd. Even or odd are things like for integers only. So if you are solving this question, the first thing that you have to understand is you should not assume, before even going to the options, you should ask yourself, the question is asking me x plus y is x plus y an even number, but it doesn't tell me anything about x, anything about y. I don't know it. All I know is they are real numbers. They are real numbers. What do I mean by real numbers? They can be integers, they can be decimals. I don't know any information like that. That is not provided to me. So with that in mind, let's move to statement one. Let's analyze the question stem we have already analyzed. X and y could be positive, negative, or even in decimals. And if you want to check, I gave you this example. So what we know is they are any real number overall. So let's move to statement one, analysis of statement one first. What we know is 5x plus 4 is an odd number. Now, those of you who marked D as the correct answer did a very, very major mistake. In fact, Rushil, you also changed your answer to D. I'm not sure why. Because understand, see, D is not possible. Statement 1 is very easy to eliminate simply because it only tells us about the nature of X. And I have to find the value of X plus Y. I have to find the nature of X plus Y. Okay. And just based on the nature of X, I cannot find the value of X plus Y. That's for sure. Okay. That's the easiest way I can ignore statement 1. But I want to still analyze statement 1. Let's see what we can analyze. Okay. We don't need to analyze, as I said. We may find something about X, but we will not be able to find anything about Y. And that's why statement 1 is going to be insufficient for sure. But let's still analyze this. We can discard it, but let's still analyze this for the learning purpose. So 5x plus 4 is odd. What that basically means is 4 is an even number. So 5x is basically even minus odd, which is odd. So I know 5x is odd. But what can I infer from that? Can anyone tell me what can be inferred from 5x is odd? And I want this as an important lesson, guys. I want to just make sure that you have actually registered the first point that I talked about. Okay. You have registered the first point that I talked about. So I just want to hear from you. When I say 5x is odd, what is the inference that can be drawn from the statement? If you know that 5x is odd, what is the inference that can be drawn from the statement? Okay, those of you who are still saying x is odd, think twice, guys. Srinidhi says x can be anything, even or odds. Are you sure, Srinidhi, about that? So happy with you, Ranendra. Ranendra is completely right. And guys, again, I asked this question because I wanted to make sure that you have registered the approach right. See, we just discussed. If you don't know anything about x and y, how can you assume that they are integers? Those of you who are still saying x is odd, Pooja, you're saying x is odd. Are you still assuming that x is an integer? You cannot assume that. X could still be a decimal. So x based, the only thing which I know from this is that x can either be an odd number or a fraction. And if it is a fraction, it is something like 1 by 5, 2 by 5, 3 by 5 or anything like that. Okay? Macha, it cannot be 2 by 5, but yeah, you get my point. It's about Rushil, we cannot say it cannot, it is not, x is not an integer. We cannot comment on that. What we know is either it is an integer, and if it is an integer, it is an odd integer, or it is a fraction. So we can only infer this much. X is an odd number or x is a fraction. That's what we know. Okay. So please register this point, guys. As I said, my objective is not solving this question. I don't stand to benefit, or you don't stand to benefit only by solving this question. You stand to benefit only when you learn something which is very important, a skill, that is not to assume stuff, to do the right analysis. Yes, Mayur, you are right. That's how you can look at it. Okay. So note this down. It's a very process-oriented approach, and if you properly practice it with time, you should be able to do it very thoroughly. That's what you need to do. And these are the small things in data sufficiency questions which actually create a lot of difference. And trust me, between 48 and 50 or 49 and 50, there's just about one question going wrong at the wrong place. I'll talk about that as in the later part of the webinar as well. Okay, so A and D are eliminated right away. Let's look at statement 2. Now, most of you said choice 2, statement 2 is sufficient alone. Now, those of you who said that, you were right in to a certain extent, provided that we knew x and y are integers. Because if x and y are integers, then if we know x and x minus y is odd, we can definitely be sure that x plus y is also going to be odd. Because x minus y, x plus y will have the both have the same nature if they are integers. But so, for example, if they are integers, I know that one of them is even, one of them is odd, and x plus y is also going to be odd. But what if they are decimals? For example, if let's say x is 0.2 and y is 1.2, or the other way around, whatever you want to take, the response x minus y is going to be -1 or 1, whatever. You want to take any other value, you can take any other value. It's not necessary to just take these values. You will still get an odd number. You will still get an odd number. So statement 2 is still true. But when you look at x plus y, that's 1.4. It's neither even nor odd. So we do not have a concrete answer from statement 2, because if x and y are integers, I know that x plus y is going to be odd. But if x and y are non-integers, I cannot be sure. I cannot say that x plus y is going to be even or odd. It's neither even nor odd. And that's the reason statement B Statement 2 is insufficient. So B is the wrong answer. So those of you who got it wrong, again, assumed something that you should not have assumed. Okay, so let's move to the third part where we analyze, combine both the statements together. Statement 1 tells me X can be odd or it can be a decimal. Statement 2 tells me they are integers. If they are integers, one of them is odd, one of them is even, or they can be decimals. Again, both the statements, even if I combine together, there is no additional information that I'm getting at all. We are still unsure about X and Y, whether they are integers or decimals. And that's one of the biggest reasons why it is impossible to answer this question with this information which is provided. And that's why option E is the correct answer. Okay, so this is a 700 level question, guys. Very simple question. If you look at the face of it, like if you do not do it carefully, you might be able to solve this question in 30 seconds, but you will be able to solve it incorrectly if you're doing that. So don't take questions lightly. And again, I'm not saying you have to overanalyze stuff. All you have to do is have presence of mind and not assume things which are not given to you. Always make sure that you're not assuming things. This was an important lesson that I wanted you guys to have. Okay, I guess you enjoyed doing this question. There was an important lesson from the last question. Okay, Ranendra has a point. Ranendra says, what I learned is that if I solve a question in 2 seconds, I should be very suspicious. Ranendra, I would say to an extent, yes. In fact, I do remember my GMAT attempt. The very first quarter, the first 7, 8 questions, my average time for solving those questions was about 30 seconds. About 30 seconds. That's all I took. But still, I just wanted to make sure I don't make any silly mistakes there. So I actually spent a little more time using another method to actually check my answers and make sure that everything is correct. And again, I'm not saying that just by spending extra time you get a question right. All I'm saying is I solved the question quickly, but I made sure that I'm not making a silly mistake. So don't take questions lightly is what I mean to say. I never mean to say that extra time spent is basically getting a question right. That's not the case. Okay. So let's understand, why do you take extra time? The timing conundrum, which as I call it, many people tell me that, okay, Shashadri, yes, the right answer is E. That's the answer. But as I said, most people think that it's because of timing that they're lacking, but it's generally not because of timing. It's because that they don't know the right method. So it's very important that you learn the right approach. So let's solve this question, guys, together. I want you guys to solve this first. I'm giving you a couple of minutes to solve this. And as usual, the rules of the game remain the same. You guys have 2 minutes to solve it. No one is going to post their answers. This is a PS question, just to change now. We started with PS, we are ending with DS. PS again. We did some DS questions in between. So I want you guys to keep the answers with you. Don't post it in the chat or the comments till I ask you to do so. Okay. So you have 2 minutes to solve it. I'm going to be muted for this 2 minutes. All the best. All right, everyone. So I have given a couple of minutes to all of you to solve this question. So if you want to share your responses now, you can feel free to go ahead and do that in the comments. I'll be happy to see them. Okay, let's wait for. Okay, so I'm seeing Rushil with a question mark. He says E with a question mark. Some of you are going with E. Okay, so Rushil, since you're not sure, don't worry. We are gonna discuss this. Good number of you are going for C. Priyansh, Aditya, Macha, Khushbu, Rahul, Shant. Good. Okay. Again, I'll have to check the answer. I'll be solving it with you, and then by virtue of that, we will get to know the right answer. I think it is C, as far as I remember. But let's still not jump to it. Let's still solve this and see which is the right answer. Ranindra says it's B. Again, as I said, I don't remember the exact answer, but I will be solving it with you guys, so we will get to know the right answer. Okay, Sahaj says it's C. Arta says it's D. Kushbu says, what is the level of this question? So Kushbu, I'll put this as a um just borderline 700, I would say 650 to 700 in that range. Borderline 700. If you know the method, trust me, this question can actually solve in 45 seconds. If you don't know the method, it might take 3 minutes or 4 minutes to solve this question as well, and you still might not be able to get it. So it's all about the right method. If you know it, simple, very easy, straightforward question. But let's solve this question now. So again, if you do not know the right method of solving the question, if you don't know the right method, what some people might have done it is that they read, okay, x plus y, x and y are positive integers. They will try to put in some values, maybe try with x is equal to 1, see what happens with y, then try putting x equal to 2, see what happens with y, try putting x equal to 3, see what happens with y. Many people do this, and then it sounds absurd. Some people think, okay, Piyush, does this really happen? Yeah, it does. I in fact hear many students telling me that, Piyush, when I started the GMAT, I was anxious. I spent 5 minutes on a question. I have heard students even giving 7 minutes on a particular question. And when I asked them what is that you did, why did you end up giving 7 minutes or 5 minutes? And the most common thing that I hear from them is they stopped, they did not follow a proper approach. They just started plugging numbers randomly because it sometimes sounds like it's enticing when you see such questions that, okay, probably I can actually get some numbers, put some numbers, solve it, get the answer. No, guys, you should not do that. Always remember, if you know the right method, if you use the right method, things are very easy. So solve questions like this, and this is something which is known as special equations. Okay, it's a special kind of linear equation. In general, most people know that in order to solve two variables, we need two equations. That's generally the case. And anyone who marks option E as the correct answer thinks that, okay, I have just one expression and I'm supposed to find the value of x. I probably cannot do so because I just have one expression. I just have one equation. To solve two variables, I need at least two equations. So if you are thinking in that direction, then obviously you probably don't know the concept of special equations. In special equations, what it says is that if there are certain constraints which are provided, for example, over here we have a constraint on the values x and y can take. If there are certain constraints which are provided, in some cases it is possible to get some values for the variables. Okay, that's what it tells us. And the simple approach in that case is step one is identify a solution. Step one is identify a solution. Step two, vary with coefficients. Okay, again, I'm just writing it in shorthand, so I'm not writing the entire sentence, but what it means is vary the values of each of those variables with the coefficient of the other variable. That's all you need to do. So that's two simple steps. So first step, identify a solution. Now, how do you identify a solution? The easiest way, you can do it randomly, but that's not the right way to do it. The easiest way is to take everything like the smaller coefficient on the left and the bigger coefficient on the right. You can do this. And I know that x and y are positive integers. So I know that x, y can be 1, 2, 3, and so on. So I'm taking a note of this again. So I know that if they're integers, 5x is a multiple of 5, 3y is a multiple of 3. Okay, so if 3y is a multiple of 3, this side of the expression should also be a multiple of 3. So what I will try doing is I will try to express this as a multiple of 3. So I will write it like this. Okay, okay, I can write it like this. Now I know that this value for any value of x is definitely a multiple of 3. So I know that this part of the expression also should be a multiple of 3. So let's think of a value of x for which 1 plus x is a multiple of 3. And it's very easy to find out. If you put x equal to 2, 1 plus x will become a multiple of 3. So let's try putting x equal to 2 in this expression and find the corresponding value of y. Okay, so let's try doing that. So if I put x equal to 2, okay, and I'm not doing it randomly, understand it guys, I'm not putting random values. See, it is possible in this case I got the value at x equal to 2. In some cases it is possible that x might be equal to 4 or 5 directly. If you're putting random values, you will end up wasting a lot of time. But this is a short method to get the answer quickly. So I know if I put x equal to 2, I know that the value of y that will satisfy in this case is 22. Okay, so I have already found one solution. Okay, that is my step 1. Step 1 is done. What is my step 2? Step 2 is vary the coefficient, vary the values with the coefficient. So all I have to now do is change the value of x by the coefficient of y. Now what is the coefficient of y? The coefficient of y is 3. So I'll change the value of x by the coefficient of y. I'll increase it by 3. So this becomes 5. And I will change the value of y, which is 22, by the coefficient of x. I will decrease this value by 5, which is 17. Now I'm increasing one and I'm decreasing the other. The reason for that is simple. Basically, we see that the sum of 5x and 3y is constant, which is 76. So when I'm actually increasing the value of y by 3, I'm adding x by 3. What I'm doing is I'm increasing the value of this particular term by 15. Again, I'm explaining the logic behind it, which I don't need to do in order to solve the question, but I'm just doing it for a learning purpose. So I'm actually ending up increasing the value of this particular part, 5x, by 15. So to balance it, to keep the sum constant at 76, I need to reduce the value of y. Okay, I hope this is clear to all of you. So just because there's a plus sign between the two, I'm actually increasing one and decreasing another. I'm increasing one and decreasing another. If there was a minus sign between the two, I would have either increased both or decreased both, because then I would want to keep the difference similar, difference constant. Okay, so I can continue doing this. So I can again increase the value of y by x by 3, which becomes 8, and I can decrease the value of y by 5, which becomes 12. Again do it 11 and I get this 7. Again do it 14 and I get the value as 2. If I do it any further, I'll actually get to 17 and minus 3, which is not allowed because then y becomes negative, which is incorrect. So the only possible values of x are 2, 5, 8, 11, and 14. So there are 5 values of x which are possible. So the right answer in this case is choice C, as most of you said. Okay, so what I wanted you to understand is, if you do not know the right method, and this is exactly what I was talking about at the beginning of the webinar, if you actually jump from stage 1 to stage 3, you will end up making a lot of mistakes if you don't know the right method. So it's very important that whenever you're learning a topic, wherever, at every single stage of your journey, you should always master a methodical approach, learn the right approach. And guys, the approach will change from topic to topic. There will be different approaches. We talked about 2-3 of them today. Okay, and it's not possible for me to teach all of that. If you want to get to a Quant 51, you definitely need to do all of that. Okay, so it's very important that you learn this methodical approach for every single topic. Now, how do you do so? So as I said, at GMAT, we believe in using technology. We believe in creating amazing content to help you with that. And that's when we conceptualize this very unique idea of the concept booster. Now, what is this concept booster all about? So imagine what we started doing was, okay, we said, okay, yeah, we need to teach the right method. So what we did was we did extensive research on all kinds of questions that have ever appeared on GMAT on each topic. So let's say we're working on prime numbers. So before creating the content on prime numbers, we sat and we saw all varieties of questions on official material for prime numbers and categorized them into various buckets. And we identified that there are this 10, 15 questions, there are this 10 type of, broadly 10 type of questions which are there. And then we created this concept booster where we give you one question of each variety, similar to what you can get on GMAT. New question, fresh question, similar to GMAT level. And you get to solve only one question at a time. Okay. And right after you solve the question, you will see a step-by-step solution telling you the right method in depth. Step 1, step 2, step 3, in depth, teaching you the traps in depth, helping you understand every single thing in depth. And the reason why we do it one question at a time is very simple. See, when you do 10 questions at once, exactly how you did the first question is not very fresh in your mind. But right now, when you're solving one question at a time followed by a solution, you're right away able to see exactly where your thought process went wrong and how can you straighten that thought process. So this is exactly what we achieve through our concept boosters. When you look at the solution, you're able to figure out the gaps in your application. And that's when you improve your performance. Okay. And as I said, each question is handpicked. We cover all different aspects of a particular topic in the concept booster. And that's what I want you to do. Methodical learning. Very important if you're looking at a 51 or more on GMAT, like 50 or 51 on GMAT. Make sure you are going through these 3 steps of learning. Okay. Learn the concepts, learn the application, learn the practice questions, do the practice questions only after that. And that's why in our course, we actually give video lessons for every topic first, which is followed by a concept booster and then practice questions on that particular topic. And this is the AI driven course, by the way. None of this is constant. All of it changes in real time. If you are a good student, you will do it in much more depth. If you are, sorry, you will do it in, you'll go to the more advanced concepts much faster. If you are a poor student or a weak student, you will do it in much more depth. You will have more questions to practice. You will be taken through more easy questions first, then more advanced questions, and so on. So all of that happens in real time. You don't have to worry about it. Okay. Another mistake. Moving on to the next mistake. Another mistake which a lot of people do. So till now, I'm summarizing. Till now, we talked about 3-4 major things that people like 3-4 major mistakes that people do. Number 1, not reading the question stem properly. Not reading the question stem properly. What I mean by that is not taking care of constraints, not thinking about assuming things which are not being provided. Then second thing, they do not draw the right inferences from the question stem in data sufficiency. Third thing, calculation mistakes. Fourth thing that they make a mistake with is they do not follow a methodical approach, which leads to extra time. Fifth mistake, and in my personal opinion, a big blunder, if you are looking at a 50 or a 51 that they do is, they leave out some topics. They leave out some concepts. In fact, this is one of the most common questions that I get asked in many calls, that I want to get a good score on GMAT. Which topics are important? Which topics can I avoid? That's a very wrong question to ask. The most common topics which people avoid are ones which are written on your screen. Permutation, combination. I also used to dread it at a particular point of time. Coordinate geometry functions. But please make sure that you are not doing this mistake. I'll tell you why. I'll actually show you why, rather, not just tell you. Make sure that you are at least building the skill to get the easy and medium level questions correct from every single topic that exists. Should not take any topic for granted. The reason why I'm saying so is simple. You never know which topic is going to come on the GMAT on the first 7 or 8 questions. Now, why do the first 7, 8 questions matter? Look at the ESRs and tell me, what is the difference that you see between a 48 and a 50? These are 2 ESRs on your screen of 2 different students. Okay, what it tells you is the accuracy in each quarter. So the first, like this, I'll just tell you how to read this. This is the first quarter. This tells us that the student had an 86% accuracy in the first quarter. 14% questions were incorrect, and so on. So you look at these 2 charts, and I want to hear from you guys, what is the difference that you see between the 2 students over here? What is the difference that you see? And notice the difference in their scores, 48 and 50. That's 2 points in quant, at least 20 points overall. So that is the difference between someone scoring a 720 and a 740. Okay, someone scoring a 700 and a 720. 20 points overall. You can actually miss the, like, you can actually get rejected because of this. What do you see is the difference between the 2 schools? I'm giving you 1 minute to think about it, guys, and I want to hear from you again. I've not asked you a lot of any question now for a long time. I just want to see whether you are able to make it out yourself, or whether you are able to make out the difference yourself. Okay, tell me, what do you see is the difference between these two students? I'll be muted to see your responses. Okay, I only see a response from Atar. What about others, guys? What do you think? Simple enough question. And as I said, I want it to be interactive. This will help all of us. Just want to make sure all of you are with me. First 5 questions correct is what Priyansh says. Arta says. So they punish you for not answering easy questions, right? Good. Yes, that's a very, very valid point, Arta. Not just easy ones, even the medium ones. Okay. What about others? Everyone else feels that both are similar. And trust me, guys, you might see them as two ESRs. You might see them as 48 and 50. But students who end up getting there, they understand the pain. And if you are a retaker, if you have been in the same place, you would have understood this yourself. You would have felt this yourself. That you put in so much effort, and just on that day, you get one question wrong. You see the difference. The first quarter is the only thing which is different. Everything else is similar, same accuracy everywhere. But just because that student, the first student, made one extra mistake in the first quarter, costed 2 points, 20 points on the GMAT. Overall, they have to study again, they have to take the GMAT again, they have to spend $250 and countless number of hours just to get that 150 again. So do not, I'm reiterating, do not make this mistake of skipping some concepts. A very bad thing for anyone to do, very wrong strategy. So another thing you have to do is identify your concept gaps. Don't just leave it at it. You are at a 48, people come and tell me, okay, I'm at a 48, Piyush, I am good at concepts, I just need to do more questions. No, that's a wrong thought process. Please, you might be right. I'm not saying you're wrong. You might be right, but the thought process is wrong. First, validate that with data. Make sure that you don't have any concept gaps whatsoever. And if you are not a GMAT student, you have an error log, use that. If you do not have an error log, then you can actually, if you're a GMAT student, you can actually get to see the concept gaps from the dashboard itself. You will be able to come here, click on number properties, click on algebra, select each of these, and it will automatically show you which areas you have concept gaps on, where you need to improve in each and every topic. And again, this is the current version of our AI. The next version, which I'm going to launch through the Viz launch, which I'm talking about, there you don't even need to check this data. It will tell you on your face, these are the issue areas where you have concept gaps, these are the areas where you have timing gaps, and it will actually help you even create improvement modules on the fly for them at a click of a button. It's going to be that simple. So if you want to attend that event, again, I'm not going to talk about it today, even though I want to, but not going to talk about it today. You can attend this event, register for this event using this link, and you will see the future of learning, how it happens at GMAT. Okay, so let's quickly then move to the next part. So once you have identified the concept gaps, it is important that you start working on the concept gaps. Now, how do you work on the concept gaps? Let's talk about it. So first step is definitely to learn the concepts. Okay, so get to learn the concepts. Focus on learning the concepts first. The second thing that you need to do after that is get expertise in easy to medium questions. And this is very important, guys. Be realistic. If you are actually weak in a certain topic, and especially if you are in the range of a 48, 49, okay, or even 45, 46, that means that you are at a very high skill level already. And still, if you are weak at a particular concept, it basically means that you probably uh, you're going to take a lot of time to improve in it. As in, this is something which is a, let's say, Achilles heel for you. For example, I am someone who has scored a 99.9 in CAT Quant, 99.9 percentile. I was I am that good in quant. So again, I'm not saying this just to boast about myself, but I feel that I'm really good in quant. But even today, you give me a question on triangles or circles, I'll actually have a hard time. So everyone has their weaknesses. So very important, you should be cognizant of them. And don't push yourself to get the hard questions right on day one. If you have concept gaps, the first stage should be to get an expertise in easy and medium questions. At least build that level of expertise. And once you have done that, then if you get time, if you have time for the prep, then try to get the hard questions right. Also, So this is what I did initially when I was actually doing my prep and all. I really did well on all other things except geometry. Geometry was my problem. So I took up individual topics in geometry, improve my skill level for easy and medium questions. So I can comfortably say today that if you give me an easy and medium question from any topic, even in geometry, I will get it right. Then I started working on hard questions also. So I took up the areas which are comfortable, slightly more comfortable for me within geometry. For example, this three-dimensional geometry, which is like the area, surface area, volume, and all of that. That was slightly comfortable for me. I took that up first. I started doing hard questions there, got a high level of accuracy there. Then I took up coordinate geometry. I took that up. I developed a high level of accuracy there as well. Polygons, I took that up. I developed a high level of accuracy there as well. But still, I was not having a good accuracy in circles and triangles. But if I did not approach it in this fashion, I would have probably struggled in the entire section of geometry. Now, the chances of me getting a hard question on circles and triangles is like 1 or 2 maximum on the GMAT. So I've reduced my risk. Okay. Is this point clear to all of you guys? This approach of going through the concepts in this fashion. Is this clear to all of you guys? Quick yes, no on the poll here. Or not the poll, yeah, on the comments here. Just want to see all of you are able to absorb this. Just see some responses from you. Okay, I'll take up the question from Deepan. I'm not sure if he's asking a question. Person who got more 50 or scored 50 got more difficult questions in the later section because of high accuracy earlier. Yes, Deepan, you're right. So if you score well on the initial quarters, then obviously your difficulty level increases, and that's why you end up getting a higher score. Great, guys. Ranendra, thank you so much for your response. Happy to know that you guys were able to understand this part. This is very critical. Now, test pacing is also very important. So now I talked about 5 mistakes. So test pacing is the next thing which you need to look at. So I have 2 ESRs in front of you, 2 snapshots in front of you. First one is too fast. This guy started off too fast. 125, 215, 144, 141. Again, went through the test in a jiffy, completed it before time, saved time. I hear such students also. I completed the test 10 minutes before the test was supposed to be completed. Does GMAT give you any additional points for saving time? No. So why did you do it? You should not. You should use the entire time. And you should also not be too slow. So if you are going too slow, like for example, giving too much time in the beginning doesn't mean that you're going to end up doing well. Okay. Again, I'm not showing the score of any of these 2 students, but none of them scored more than a 48. So very important that you actually do the pacing right. Okay. So what should be the timing strategy for quant? Again, this is also an important factor. And this timing strategy is keeping in mind that you are going to target a 50 or a 51 on GMAT. That's the target score that you are aiming for. Ideally, in the first quarter, the average time, the amount of time that you should have spent should be about a minute and 30 seconds. Okay. Average time in the first quarter is this much because your question difficulty level is medium to medium hard maximum. It doesn't go above medium hard except for one question maybe. Okay. Second quarter, on the other hand, your difficulty level will go to medium hard to hard if you're doing well. Obviously, if you're doing well. So your time should also go up. So it should be about 2 minute 10 seconds maximum. Again, I'm telling you maximum times here. Should not be more than this anytime. Okay, can be less than this, but not more than this. And also less wise also, it should be 20 seconds less than this, not much. Let's say 30 seconds less than this. That's also not right, because in the third quarter, for example, you start getting very hard questions, very hard questions. So you have to manage 2 minute 40 seconds. Now you can think, okay, why 1 minute 40 then in for the last quarter? Because obviously with this timeline, you will actually not have enough time left in the last quarter, which is okay. So if you have, let's say on an average 1 minute 40 seconds, I don't want you to solve every question in 1 minute 40 seconds. Be selective. Do about 4 or 5, like maybe focus on like 5 or 6 questions in the last quarter, do them right, and 1 or 2 you can just do guesses. Okay. So while practicing, what I want you to do is, again, this is something you cannot directly achieve on the test day. You cannot tell that, okay, on the test day, I'm going to get this done. Okay. You have to practice this every single day when you do it. So while practicing, devote the right amount of time for each difficulty level. Okay. Time yourself in that fashion. And for identify your comfort areas and be selective right from quarter 3. So till quarter 2, I was not being selective. From quarter 3 onwards, in the test, the moment I saw a circle or triangle based question, and even after spending a minute and a half, I was not really sure whether I'm headed in the right direction. I just guessed it. But if I was sure that I'm headed in the right direction, I would spend 1 more minute and get it right. Okay. So be selective, especially in the areas, in the questions which are from your uncomfortable areas. Okay. And don't take simple questions too lightly. Probably you would have seen that by now. We solved a lot of questions. So especially the DS ones, do not take them too lightly. Okay. So again, Shashadri, I can actually give you a webinar recording. I conducted a different webinar on this, which was completely about the timing strategy, where I actually talk a lot more in depth, not just about quant, not just about verbal, but the entire timing piece. So let me just find that for you. Yeah, I have been able to get it. So anyone of you is looking for a timing specific or a GMAT algorithm specific webinar, this is the link which you should go for. Okay, let me just share it with you. GMAT algorithm pacing webinar. You can use this. I'm going to just highlight this. So this is the link which you can use. Shashadri, this will help you actually learn a lot more about the strategy. So this is the link. Any one of you can look at it. But very quickly, I just wanted to cover a little about quant because that is what we're discussing right now. Okay. So plan of action, simple. If I have to summarize everything today, what we discussed, simplify all the things that we talked about in simple terms. In order to summarize the learning process, step one, work on areas where your concept gap lies. That's the easiest place to start with. Get 100% accuracy in them, at least the easy and medium questions there. Then learn the right methodology to solve topics, and where you're spending excess time. And in order to do that, actually classify the topics into two buckets. If your score is less than 70%, you have to work on concepts and application. If your score is more than 70%, just work on building the right skills. Okay. Practice sectional tests to improve timing across difficulty levels. And remember, no mistakes are silly mistakes. If you're calling something as a silly mistake, you are being ignorant somehow. You're ignorant of the mistakes, the more conceptual mistakes, the more method-driven mistakes that you're making. Please don't give that excuse. Deep dive to find the right root cause and focus on improving skills on each question that you solve. Don't just go after solving tons of questions. That's not the most optimal method. Just because you have more time, it doesn't mean that you will just waste that time solving questions. Rather, use it strategically to understand how to solve questions. And if you want to get in touch with me, discuss your strategies, you can always connect with me. My phone number is available on your screen. This is my personal number. You can get in touch with me. If you want to connect with me over a call, you can also do that using this link, schedule a call on my calendar. This is the link to my calendar right away. You can use it. And if you want to connect with me on a mail, you can always do that as well. And anything else, any support you need, we'll be happy to help you with that. And if you're looking for an advanced learning platform, if you're looking for a very advanced learning platform for your learning needs, please look at the GMAT Wills free plan. This is there for you. And I'm formally opening it up for the Q&A part. Any questions anyone has in their mind, you can feel free and ask me now. Now is the time to ask your questions. So please feel free to go ahead and ask your questions. I'll be more than happy to take any question that you have now about your GMAT prep, about the quant part, anything that you want to ask, you can ask now. This is the time. I'm gonna be there with you to answer these questions, and then we'll end this webinar after I have answered all the questions. Okay. So let's see some questions from you guys. Okay, I don't have any question as of now, but I'll wait for a few minutes. In the meantime, anyone of you who is interested in looking at our courses, you can also check it out. We offer multiple kind of options. Like we have a self-paced online course, we have a classroom-based format as well, and we also do private tutoring, one-on-one tutoring. So depending on what are your learning needs, we have an option for you in simple terms. In fact, one of our most popular options is our crash course, which is aimed towards people who are looking to get their GMAT done before round one. We started a batch today, so there's one class which is going on as we speak. So you've just missed one batch, but if you're looking at a fast track improvement in your score, this is one course that you should go for. In fact, just today, we heard from one of our students who scored a 740. He took our course in March and he was able to get a 740 right now. A working professional who was able to achieve this feat. So again, many students do that, but just telling you, one of the very effective learning models are available with us because we are able to personalize your learning to the maximum level through our AI-driven engine. So any questions anyone has, they can shoot out to me, or You can connect with me later, like if you want to actually discuss with me one-on-one later on, because I don't see any questions. So I think people are not like you don't want to put your questions out live. Maybe that's the reason. So I hope this webinar was helpful to all of you. You guys were able to generate some value. It was really nice. In fact, today I was really I actually found the class to be very interactive. I take a lot of webinars, but today's class especially, I had a lot of good students today. I generally see people making a lot more mistakes in the questions that we solved, but the batch today, the discussion today was really fruitful, and I hope that all of you were also able to generate a lot of value out of it. So it was great interacting, guys. I don't see any other questions, so I'm going to end the webinar now and wish you all the best for your GMAT and a very good evening, good night to if you guys are in India or around, and a good morning to you if you are in the States. So all the best for your GMAT, and please feel free to reach out to me, and do give this video a thumbs up and share it with your friends if you found this helpful and if you think that it can help them as well. So all the best and thank you so much for being here today.